Right,
We
are we
should
ready
be
to go?
live now. Hello and
Hello.
welcome to Film de Siecle. We are doing a special, I suppose I could call it a State of Union address, really. We do this once a month.
Are you on the YouTube screen that shows you the video in the comments?
No, and you might want
Oh,
to mute your phone, by the way, Ollie.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
live on your channel, Film de Siecle monthly special.
Okay.
That is good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it when I... Oh, I have refreshed the page and there it is.
Yay! So we are live. Hello and welcome
Yeah.
everybody. If anybody's with us at this point, then welcome obviously. If you're watching this back later, then double welcome. Thank you for coming back to our channel.
Yeah. Excuse the, excuse the COVID rooms.
I've seen your room before COVID, though, Ollie.
We didn't have to tell everyone that.
Oh, I've put my foot in it. So, I don't know where to start really. As you know, we do our monthly videos, 4 a month.
Weekly.
Different movies. Well, yeah, weekly videos, but we do 4 every month.
Oh, right. I thought you said do monthly videos for a month.
No. Although, monthly we do 4 videos a month. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Now, for people that live stream so often, you'd think we'd be better at this.
Yeah. Well, where do we start?
Yeah.
Well, we've got some interesting movies lined up for next month. We've got some Christmas movies for December. We're going to do the Home Alones because it would be criminal not to do the Home Alones.
On Christmas, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course we're going to continue Harry Potter until we're finished or we become fed up of it.
Yeah, I mean, either one could happen first at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But we are planning on covering other big franchises in the new year. We're planning on covering Lord of the Rings, for example, the Star Wars prequels at some point, Matrix, all of these.
I think the Star Wars prequels is basically most of the month of May.
Well, yeah, May is the month of Star Wars, so of course we're going to.
Yeah. Right. So. Yeah. So, I suggested this because I thought it would be fun for us to just chat with whoever happened to be watching, if anyone, and with each other if necessary in a live environment. So.
I like how you talk about talking to me as if it's a necessity rather than something you want to do. If I must.
Well, you know what I mean.
I like to think I do.
Yeah, it also gives us the opportunity to add things to previous discussions that we might have missed.
Yeah.
If we have.
Yeah, I mean.
On that note, I want to say something. I was watching Sweeney Todd last night because I wanted something on in the background because I'm doing NaNoWriMo this month, or I'm trying to. It's not going well. And I wanted something on in the background, and I did notice something that I hadn't noticed before.
Go on, do tell.
Yeah, you know how I said in Mrs. Lovett's fantasies?
Yeah,
Even there, Todd can't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that just... I likened that as to her liking the chase and not really being that interested. No, it's the opposite. She's rationalising.
Do tell.
Well, that's how Sweeney acts towards her, and she wants him to love her, so it makes sense that in her fantasy, that's just his way. That's how he acts to those he loves, which means in the real world that he loves her.
So it's like the whole Sasuke thing. Oh, his indifference must mean he really loves us.
Yes, like that. Can't believe I didn't notice that in the discussion.
Corset Sakura.
Yeah.
As I call her. Although I don't think that Naruto ended with Sakura being put into an oven and burnt to death. Maybe Boruto does, I don't know.
I don't know. I gave up on Naruto after the pain arc.
Well, this isn't some sort of condition you had, is it? Or it was the name of the arc in the show?
Sorry?
This wasn't some sort of condition you had, it was the arc in the show. Like, I
Yeah.
have a worse pain arc for last month.
No,
Couldn't focus at all.
there was just too much filler in Shippuden, even for
There
Naruto.
was.
I'll probably get back onto it once, but I finished the story through the games.
Yeah, well, can't blame you. I mean, I did the same thing because the original Naruto, at least with the filler arcs, they were a few big ones, and you knew exactly when they started and stopped, and you could easily skip them. Whereas with Shippuden, you don't get any of that. You just get it interlaced with the actual story, all this rubbish you don't care about.
Yeah. Anyway, film de Siecle.
Yeah, film de Siecle. I mean, Naruto is a piece of media from that time period, so we're not wrong to be talking about it. Not so much Shippuden, but Naruto.
Yeah. Right. Is there anything you want to add to any observations?
Ooh, I need to put the onus on me. Well, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, none of these movies I've had huge revelations about since. I stand by what I say before. I do feel like we could have gone into more detail on Bicentennial Man, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to talk about in Bicentennial Man.
Yeah, like
that's quite a big movie.
Yeah, if I was to name like 5 films from the 90s and the 00s that I would say you should watch these. These aren't necessarily the kinds of films we're going to review, by the way. I would actually put that on there as maybe one of the only ones that aren't widely considered to be good, just because I think it's going to become more relevant with time, and I think it would be interesting to have some more modern eyes on this film that's basically laid on a shelf for most people since 1999.
Yeah, and it's since we reviewed it, it's become included with Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime Video, in the UK at least, you can just watch it.
They're obviously working on the Siecle bounce, weren't they, Ollie?
Yeah.
Obviously, that is what happened.
We gave it the rub, and now it's available on Prime.
Yeah, tell me about it. A movie we're going to be reviewing next week, I believe, is Clerks.
Yeah, Clerks. Clerks is a good one. I like Clerks.
Well, the Kevin Smith movies in general, we're definitely going to watch, because most of them fall under that time period, and I think they all warrant discussion one way or another.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, when I suggested these videos, I kind of had comments and an audience in mind, and we can usually rely on that a bit from the usual suspects.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, it's experimental. People will be able to find this at a later date, and don't know what to talk about the process. I mean, the average making of a film de Siecle video consists of us meeting up online. Now we have to, of course, to record. No, first of all, we pick some films. Second of all, we do about 10 minutes where we talk about the film, our memories, our nostalgia, our thoughts, if we have any, of course. Some of these are films that are completely new to us, like Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants. And then we go away and watch the film and come back and answer several questions. I mean, I'm open to changing the questions that we ask, but I don't know what would be better than what we already ask.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's not that we only want to review films we like, or that we like everything. It's just that there are films we want to talk about, and we're going to get to them first. That's just how this goes.
And 90% of the films we want to talk about are films that we're very familiar with and enjoy. So we're going to do those first because that's what we're enthusiastic for. Whereas if we start off by watching a bunch of films we don't like, or a bunch of films we've never heard of, we might not have the same levels of enthusiasm. So we try and sprinkle them in. And gradually over time, as we run out of films we have watched, we're going to do more of the stuff we've never seen before, that you guys are recommending to us. We're open to suggestions, by the way, as long as they're not daft ones.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably cover The Room at some point.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not sure if I'd classify that as a bad movie, because it's entertaining. it's not intentionally entertaining, and it's not traditionally good, and it's not good in the way it was intended. But I don't think, for some reason, maybe the word bad just means something different to me to most critics. But when I hear the word bad, I think irredeemable, or mean-spirited, or ill will behind it, and there's none of that with The Room. It's just an awfully made movie with a terrible narrative. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, what, on The Room, you mean?
Well, or on our style of criticism.
Yeah. Well, I like to criticise what's actually there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we jokingly nitpick, and when I say that, I mean, we'll notice something funny in the background and talk about it for 5 minutes just because it amuses us. Not because we hate it. For example, we're not going to lose our minds over the fact that the president from Air Force One stares at a carton of milk for 5 seconds in the movie. We just think it's hilarious. It's not a flaw of the film. Yeah, and you can't really consider flaws when they serve the purpose of amusement, even if not intentionally.
Yeah. And, like, even films I don't like, I try to give a fair shake to.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So if we were to review Alice in Wonderland 2010, and we're not, because if you try and make me watch that film, I will leave the channel.
You will walk, and that would be an achievement. So carry on.
Yeah. That may not be a joke to people who don't know me personally.
No. But yeah, I mean, we're probably not going to touch Dragon Ball Evolution for a while. Was that what movie? What year was that? 2000.
I mean, that was 2006.
That early?
No, 2008. It was 2008, 2009.
Yeah, because I remember it was around the time of a recession. Yeah, I remember because it was a recession movie. In more ways than one.
It was. Although I think we do have to give it its place in history.
It started. Bloody hell! Are you in a kitchen, Ollie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it started in. Oh, what's the word? It started a butterfly effect that resulted in a revival of Dragon Ball, with several good video games, a new anime series, and several successful cinematic movies. Well, animated, anyway.
Yeah. That doesn't make Dragon Ball Evolution any better, it's just, easier to swallow with the rest of the good it brought around.
And it reminded Western audiences that Dragon Ball Z exists. At that time, the only new releases we'd get would be the occasional anniversary special, which most Western audiences wouldn't see, or the occasional video game, and that would be it.
Yeah.
And then we got Evolution, and we got some Dragon Ball media. Carry on.
I would probably agree to cover that if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So we probably will at some point.
Well, we'd have a lot to say on the matter.
I don't think that's ever not going to be a good talking point.
Yeah, and I don't think that we'd necessarily see the movie in a more positive light upon a rewatch, but it might contextualise more.
Yeah. I mean, some of my favourite films, and I'm not accusing Dragon Ball Evolution of being anywhere close to this, some of my favourite films are the ones where you notice new things on subsequent rewatches. Yeah. I mean, I just talked about noticing something new on my, 65th rewatch of Sweeney Todd.
The Truman Show is very good for that. I can watch that 100 times and notice something new every single time. It can just be the way that a background character is obviously holding a camera, the way that a character looks at another character, the little glances between the actors, anything like that.
You know what's good for that? A really good film for that is Hot Fuzz.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Edgar Wright is a brilliant director because he squeezes in all these tiny details and Easter eggs and background stuff. If you ever watch the sitcom Spaced, please do, because that's a late 90s sitcom, very much ahead of its time, very much of the same style as the Cornetto trilogy. Of course, it had Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, a lot of the usual players that appear in these films, and it was their first big collaboration.
Edgar Wright is just really good. He's very good at making a lot of the mundanities
amusing. The scenes the scene at the services in Hot Fuzz does capture what it's like to be at a motorway services. It's such a tiny thing, and it's such a small moment in the film, but I really appreciate that.
Right.
We're keeping your attention, Ollie.
No, sorry, I was wondering if that would have been the people we let know was happening replying.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Sorry to get in the way of your hectic social life.
Well, it's your... You didn't hear what I said, did you?
Yes, I did. I was joking. I was... assumably it wasn't most people. That's why I was being facetious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we definitely want to cover the Cornetto trilogy at some point, because those are films.
Here's the thing with the Cornetto trilogy, the third one ain't in our time period.
What? Oh,
yeah.
Bugger! Oh, that's so annoying!
The World's End came out after 2010.
Bloody hell, that's so annoying. I remember that being
What is good, though, is that Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are both isolated stories and could quite happily be analysed separately from The World's End.
True.
And maybe we'll do a special one day. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do more video essays going forward when I get time to write/produce them, because they take a lot longer than the average video, obviously. Yeah. One subject I want to cover is Phoenix Nights, and why that's one of the greatest sitcoms ever made, and internationally at least. It's not really known. It's quite well known in the UK, I think, but internationally speaking, it doesn't get the credit that, say, like the UK Office does.
Yeah.
And putting the two head to head, they're completely different, but they're contemporaries from the same time period. It's weird that one style of comedy is well received internationally and the other isn't.
Yeah.
So that's one subject. Are there any particular subjects you'd like to cover one of these days, Ollie?
Well, I wouldn't mind making a couple of videos about video games. The 90s was basically the golden age for video games. Yeah, a load of games on people's best game ever lists were 90s games that are still talked about or being remade and re-released to this day.
Oh yeah, like Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye 64, those kinds of things.
Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, we're just
the
listing
original
video
Resident
games.
Evil.
Yeah, that was not the one with Sean Bean in.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in a movie version of Resident Evil? Or is that my imagination? No, it's Silent Hill he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tangent, but I just remembered that happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another thing I would like to do, with Ollie's express permission, of course, is another advert special.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know the first one wasn't amazing performing, but I'd like to cover some of the more well-known adverts from UK television in that time period, like the Cadbury's Gorilla, because I think that's just fascinating to talk about. Go Compare Man, all of these things. Some of them are a fixture today, like the Meerkats. I don't know why that caught on, but it did. Some of these successes are inexplicable when it comes to television adverts.
Yeah. Sorry to break up the flow, but is there any way you can shrink the capture window on Discord, because notifications are popping up and they're visible?
Pete says he'd like to see that. I don't know how to turn off notifications.
Well, is there any way you could shrink the capture window in OBS to be, like, to cut out the bottom? If
it's not as good as
Streamlabs.
No, it's not as good. It's not as good as Streamlabs.
It's not as good now. If you hold Control and click the bottom of the window, you should be able to just get it, like, to go up a bit.
Okay, well that should fix it. Keep in mind there's a time delay.
Yeah. I can't actually see what you did or are doing.
Okay, but we've got one
Pete
message
says
from...
I'd like to...
Yeah, carry on. I saw it as well.
Pete says I'd like to see that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. Are there any adverts that you think we should check out from that time period?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's much better.
Good.
I think. Hopefully.
Yeah, fingers
Well,
crossed.
actually, no, it looks exactly the same.
Right, well, I don't know how to use OBS. It's completely
You use
different
it
from
the same as
Streamlabs.
Streamlabs.
No, I don't. It's different. It's a misconception. Studio mode. What the heck?
Well, no, you see, you know the window that is
No.
the capture window for Discord?
Discord. I haven't got a capture window of Discord. I've just got display capture.
Got what?
Display capture.
Well, don't do that.
Right.
You capture the specific window, and then...
Never mind. We'll carry on. It's not anything confidential that I don't want people seeing.
Alright, fair enough.
But, yeah, are there any of these old adverts that stick in your mind, Ollie? I mean...
there probably are some. Like that one where they called Pot Noodle the slag of all snacks.
Oh my god, that was an advertising campaign.
Yeah. But other than, like, I mean, if I thought for a moment, I suppose more would jump out at me.
Some reason I imagine somebody jumping out at you then. Like, like that bit in the Phantom of the Opera where the guy jumps
By the
out.
way, Pete's here. Hello, Pete. Do you have any questions for us here in a live space? Not that you don't have access to us anyway, but it would help for the video.
Yeah, anything you want to know about our creative process, how we pick our movies, how we analyse our movies, editing. I mean, I do all the editing, so I'd be open to some questions on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple process. We record a video, I go through the audio, I'll get rid of as much background noise as I can, which is sometimes easier since we record on separate channels.
You'll get rid of as much what as you can?
Background noise.
Oh,
right. How ironic that you didn't hear me say that.
Yeah, you cut out a bit. I thought you said brown noise.
Brown noise? Is that like white noise? Doesn't matter if it's brown or
there was an
white
episode of South Park dedicated to a brown noise, which is a note at a specific frequency, which, if played, makes somebody shit themselves.
No, I have no ulterior motive behind this channel where I want people to do that.
Would be funny, though.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be good for our subscribers, though.
No.
And at the part of Bicentennial Man where he professes his love for her, everyone shat themselves. Robin Williams.
Pete says, I remember that episode.
I like how you said that in reference to me talking about Bicentennial Man. But we had other talks at the beginning of founding this channel about videos we can do in future. Obviously, it'll be months and months away before we can do things like that, but we even talked about seeing some more even nostalgic sequels to 90s, 2000s properties, or cinematic re-releases of old movies, which cinemas quite often do, and doing a vlog series whenever those happen in future. Obviously, when we can both get together, it'll be months from now for understandable reasons, but that's something to look forward to maybe in 2001 Film de Siecle. I'm quite looking forward to us knocking out a full year of Film de Siecle. I hope that we can get back on the wagon when it comes to the video essays. We're going to be doing a mixture of some in jest, a bit like the Action Man one, and some that are more serious and analysing the different forms of media.
Yeah. We're going to do something with TV shows as well, I think, eventually.
Yeah, like I said, I really want to do a video about Phoenix Nights.
Yeah.
And space would be a good one to cover. Sorry, Ollie.
Once I've got a new and more reliable computer, I'll be able to contribute a bit more to the output.
Yeah. But we might even do some stuff about 90s memorabilia and 2000s memorabilia as well. Interesting videos, like Jim Sterling, who we both subscribe to, does videos about Pogs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think there's a time delay, Ollie.
At least not from that time period. What?
There's a time delay because your lips are moving when you're not talking.
Possibly.
It's still there, but it's a lot less than it was a minute ago.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
I
even
don't.
stuff like these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, that could be interesting to talk about. Even that anime, we
Yeah.
should do some anime ones.
Oh, I've got loads of you from the 2000s. Like,
You cut out then. I thought you said loads of Yukon, like what you mean the northwest of Canada?
no, I've got loads of Yu-Gi-Oh cards from like the early 2000s. I've got
Yeah.
that massive binder, if you remember.
Oh, that's a time capsule. The funny thing about old Yu-Gi-Oh cards is they're either worth nothing or they're worth loads in between. Like, if it was in the anime, then they're worth a lot. Or if it's still useful, because some very old cards are useful. Like, if you have a smoke grenade of the Thief, which was only released as a common like 15 years ago once, that's going to be worth something like 20 quid. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And this is
I have some SDK Blue Eyes White Dragons, so...
Yeah, those can be worth something, especially if they're in good condition. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I had Beanie Babies as well. That might be an interesting video discussion, because, funnily enough, that works on a very similar attitude to Phoenix Knights, which I might explain in a video essay. But the
shit, do you remember Furbies?
Yes, oh my god, I remember being shit scared of Furbies. Because when I first got one, I was really happy with my purchase. Like, really happy with it. Then, the night afterwards, guess what was on the TV?
What?
Gremlins. And for some reason,
Lord.
that made me shit scared of Furbies for a while. I was like 7 or 8. So I kept having to like turn the Furby away from me so it couldn't look at me and things like that.
Yeah.
But
okay, that's a video for something from the 90s.
Yeah, let's do a Furby special.
Yeah.
Go on.
Also, Bop It. A Bop It stream. Nightmare mode.
Yes, and Bop It had a bit of a revival a few years ago, because I remember you playing it when I went to visit you about 3 years ago, and like, oh, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
Can't do your voice. So, Furbies. What was I going to say about Furbies? Also, a bit of nightmare fuel with Furbies is if their batteries were running low, they would be terrifying. They'd be like,
yeah, some Five Nights at Freddy's shit.
Talk about Five Nights at Freddy's shit. Me and my grandma used to go to, who's now passed away, used to go to car boot sales quite a lot, and what she'd do is she'd buy a lot of stuff and she'd sell it for more money, obviously. At one point she bought a load of toys, and on the way back we were driving and we'd just occasionally hear something going like, it was like something from a horror movie, and we were both shit scared because we didn't know what it was. It sounded like someone was on the back seat making horror movie noises, and then we realised that it was happening to the speed bump.
Mike's here. Hello, Mike.
Oh, hello, Mike. And this scary demon voice coming from the back of the car was actually a voice box from a toy that had obviously degraded over the years, so it sounded like Satan's spawn was on the back seat of the car giving commentary.
Mike, do you have any questions for us about the channel, the creative process, anything at all?
Yeah, Mike, welcome. Another car boot story. I went to one with my mum once. She had some sort of van at the time for some reason, and we had stuff in the back of the van, and we parked up because we were just about to start selling stuff. This was very early. Then as soon as we opened the door, someone jumped into the back and was like, alright, let's see what you've got here. And it's like, get out the van! You know, wait till we set up. I'll remember that, because he was so eager to jump in. Like, he didn't nick anything, he was just that eager to see what we had to sell. Like, get a life.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to one of those, Ollie?
I never sold at one, but I went to a few.
Yeah, what are your memories?
Fake Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever get fooled? Or did you just not care? Did you ever get fooled?
My mum did. She bought Harriet a couple of Pegasus starter decks and stuff because they were really cheap, but I didn't quite have the heart to tell her that they were all fake. I mean, she wasn't going to play in a tournament anyway.
I mean, the dead giveaway was the fact that the character was called Angsty Thomas.
It's called what?
Angsty Thomas.
Angsty Thomas.
Pegasus. I don't know, I was just thinking of a funny fake name. Mike says, I can't think of anything at the moment other than a large collection of Asian cinema for you to discuss. Like, Yeah, leave something concrete and specific in the recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, Pete, did you guys ever go to car boot sales? I like how I'm waiting for a response, as if I'm going to get an instantaneous one. That is so stupid of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one for you.
Yeah.
So, what made you choose this specific time period to focus on?
Well, I don't know. We were talking and we realised how it has its own separate feel and aesthetic, and it evolved because at the beginning of it we had no internet to speak of that most people would have access to. At the end of it, it was not that different from today. You had smartphones, you had easy access to the internet. You sort of had the decline of the traditional sort of cinema industry to closer to what it was today, because at the beginning you'd quite often have showings of movies where you wouldn't find an empty seat, and towards the end you'd only have that for premieres. I mean, you kind of agreed with the time period. What were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were, well, you know the old saying, everything 20 years old is new again.
Yes, and I think that's very true of the 90s, because it's hilarious seeing some of this 90s media, especially what we've been watching lately, like Mrs. Doubtfire and Air Force One, how wholesome this kind of stuff is.
Yeah, I love the 90s in, like, as a tone for media. It was so much less cynical. I was saying the other day.
It was. Yet a lot of the social problems that we have today were around then. They were just, what's the word? Less ingrained in media, I suppose.
Like, the 90s could get away with being a lot more earnest, I feel. Like,
yeah. Oh, we've had comments from Pete and Mike saying that they went to car boots. Give us some stories and we'll read them out, guys. Car boots sales stories, because everyone's got them and they're funny. There were so many traders at some of these car boots, like Furnace End was one of our locals, and the first 3 rows would always be people selling meat, counterfeit DVDs, all of that kind of stuff, just bulk stuff. Were you ever someone who bought counterfeit DVDs? Even then I wasn't a big fan of counterfeit DVDs, just because they were crap quality. It wasn't necessarily a moral thing.
Yeah. Oh, for my own curiosity, can I ask you guys in the chat how the audio is and if it could be better, or how everything's coming through to you?
Yeah.
I feel like I have to ask.
Well, they seem to be interacting with us, so we're at least audible and legible. I mean, we might not sound great. I don't know. Let's find out.
What do we sound like? Do we sound like things? Let's find out.
Oh, if only BoJack Horseman was within our time period.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that on my channel. I should probably get back to that at some point.
I'd be up for that.
We could do.
I'd be up for that. There's very little to tell, to be honest, Mike says. I did buy a Warhammer kit for 1/10 of the RRP. Oh, that's good. Oh, and the audio is fine. I can hear you. I like how all he said was, I can hear you. Like...
Yeah. One thing that I haven't actually said to Seb that I assumed you would know is that if I ask, is my audio okay, what I'm actually asking is, could my audio be better?
Yes, exactly. I'm thinking exactly the same thing here. It's not like, are we tolerable? Are we the bare minimum of audible?
Yeah, well, because we've had to redo 2 episodes.
Yeah, that was such a nightmare.
For that reason.
Well, one of them, it was only part of the video that was the problem, because my recording software changes every few days the input microphone for some reason. So it changed it to a crappy one built into the case of my computer, which I didn't even know existed. And you could barely understand me. I was understandable, but if you were to listen to me for 50 minutes, you'd want to tear your ears out. That's how horrible it sounded, and nothing I could do could make it better.
We had to completely redo the Air Force One video, and ironically, that's the one that we got out on time.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm happy with the way that one turned out, because the Harry Potter one felt a bit awkward for me, because I had to re-record my own audio and sort of be in mock response to you. I don't know if it shows at all.
No, I think you mostly did very well
It meant
with
the
that.
video was about 10 minutes shorter, though, because I could say what I meant to say in a more concise way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not worth the amount of
There,
time it takes to do that, though.
there were times when I could tell, but only because I knew that was what you were doing.
Yeah, like if you weren't listening for it, you'd probably not way of knowing. And Pete says he didn't notice it, so that's encouraging feedback.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the only hiccup we've had, and the only upload date we've missed. But we're back on schedule.
Yeah, we're back on schedule. We're a little ahead of schedule now because we're now once again recording stuff a few weeks in advance.
Yeah, we already have next week's video, well, this week's video, I suppose, and next week's recorded. So.
Yeah, and we're soon to be recording Goblet of Fire, I believe.
Yeah.
Ollie, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Somebody ready to record Goblet of Fire?
Yes! He said calmly. We said that at the same time. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. So, Ollie, are there any particular movies you're looking forward to doing that we've got lined up?
Well, I
Can
think
be
what
what
we
we've
were going to
recorded
do.
already. Could be what we've yet to record.
Well, I was looking forward to Clerks.
Yeah.
And when it came, I don't know how I did, to be honest.
Well,
I don't know.
Clerks isn't going to be a long video. We do analyse it, we go in depth, but it's one of those films that speaks for itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, I thought I'd have more to say about Clerks. Like, I really like it. Maybe I just really love what Clerks did and represents. Because there is that.
That's the conclusion we came to. Because it's not the best movie in the world, but it's probably the best version of what it is out there, which is a very low-budget comedy that catapulted a career.
Pete says, roses are red, this is the Shire. How did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Love it. Well done, Pete. Good one. Mike, hope you're enjoying the video. Well, like I said, Christmas time, we've got some Christmas movies. I think we agreed on The Grinch. We also agreed on both of the Home Alones.
Yeah. And
we've got Order of the Phoenix, the most Christmassy movie of all.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, the last week of December isn't a Christmas week anyway, it's a New Year week.
Yeah, true.
And
I think in January, the third video in January, we've got earmarked as Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Because there's a reboot coming out around then.
That's right. So that will be a good one, because I remember renting that when I was about 5.
I love that
Batman
film.
and Robin.
Like,
I love it.
It's trash, but I love it.
Pete says, I bought Clerks 2 on DVD, and then when I got home it had the wrong disc in. Oh dear. What
disc did it have in?
Imagine typing that and not an answer to that question. Mike says, yeah, I'm good, thanks, just been rehearsing my sketches ready for filming. That's good. Good, Mike.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Also, I think the first video we're going to do in the new year is the A-Team.
Oh yeah, I remember.
It's very late in our time period because it was one of the last movies of 2010.
So our New Year video will be the A-Team movie starring Liam Neeson.
Yes, but the ironic thing about that movie is it's a film adaptation of a series that was just ending when our time period was starting, so it almost completely eclipses Film de Siecle in a way.
Yeah.
So it's both a throwback and something a little bit ahead of its time in regards to, from a technological standpoint, it was a good-looking movie.
Oh, Pete says it was a 2-disc DVD, but both discs were disc 2.
So
2 discs of the Clerks 2 bonus features, bonus features.
There was boneless chicken involved. That show I'd
love to be a stand-up comedian, but I can't stand up. That's the joke everyone expects me to make.
Aww. I would like to do a video about Cow and Chicken, actually. That was a great show.
That was
I loved
good.
It. Yeah.
Anything with the red guy in it was brilliant.
Well, he was in that, and he was in I Am Weasel. What else was he in?
I think that's it.
Oh. So basically, what you're saying is I Am Weasel and Karen Chicken are brilliant.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know which one I prefer, to be honest.
I'd say Karen Chicken, but that's just because that's what I generally watch more.
Yeah, I agree.
Was it Karen Chicken that had the episode about the headhunters, who literally were hunting heads instead of just searching for talent?
No, actually, that might have been I Am Weasel. I was thinking of the Sweepays, the Tug of War episode.
Do we have a Mandela effect here?
Possibly.
Ones I remember very vividly is Cow becoming a barmaid and singing songs in a bar that sold just milk for the red guy, and Chicken having to save her for some reason. I also remember one where they both go to jail.
I know what you could do: Digimon versus Pokemon. In what regard? Because I never watched Digimon, and I'm not sure whether Seb did either. But
no, I only watched the theme tune. I would turn it off as soon as the theme tune was over, because that's all I was interested in. As soon as it got to change into digital champions to save the digital world, as soon as that happened, I just turned it off because I wasn't interested in the rest.
I mean, if you're asking which series was better, we wouldn't be able to tell you, and are biased. If you're asking who would win in a fight, you might be on the wrong channel.
yeah, you might be looking for something with Screw Attack Games there, but no, it's one of those series where I think the similarities are more superficial. A bit like Star Trek Wars. That's a really stupid debate because they're not even remotely similar. They're not even the same genre. Star Wars is a fantasy movie, whereas Star Trek is science fiction.
Yeah, they're both in space with spaceships. And with star in the name.
What is the best thing with star in the name that has aliens and spaceships? That's the question you're asking, because they're not even similar.
Yeah. I can't say whether Digimon and Pokemon are similar or not, because I only watched one of them.
No.
But,
but we do. But it's funny you alluded to that, Pete, because... Oh, wait. Pete says he thinks he watched more episodes of Pokemon, but I probably spent more Digimon. I remember when I visited Pete's house, obviously like 15 years ago now, he had loads of Digimon stuff on his shelf. So I think he was a Digimon fan at the time. But we do want to do a head-to-head video series where we look at two similar, at least superficially similar releases that came out around the same time and were competing with each other. Perhaps where we do some vox pops.
Rival shows, like, on TV, were often not even remotely similar, even superficially.
Yeah. I mean, like you had Mad Men and Game of Thrones, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, one of them's an epic dark fantasy series about, like, the War of the Roses, and the other is about advertising in the 1960s. You couldn't get further separate.
Yeah, and for a show about advertising in the 1960s, Game of Thrones didn't have much of that.
Yeah. Also, Lost and Heroes, I remember being compared a lot.
Both are a bit fantastical, and that's the only thing.
They were both popular and airing at around the same time. Yeah. I think that...
Exactly. That is the similarity where it starts and ends. Pete mentions Ants and a Bug's Life. That's the one that made me want to do this, because I have a lot of nostalgic stories from that time period of having to choose between one or the other, which a lot of people had to, and that's why I think it's fascinating. Another one that was like this was A Shark Tale and Finding Nemo.
I remember Stuart Little and Chicken Run being one, because they were out at the same time.
Yeah, late 90s. I had the weirdest thing with Chicken Run, because for some reason my family didn't want me to go and see it because they heard that it was violent.
I mean, it sort of is.
But not to the point where like a 7-year-old child couldn't go and see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's Auschwitz imagery, but you know,
I don't think that's what they were thinking of, though.
What?
I don't think that's what they were thinking of, because a lot of that completely flew by. Because obviously, when a 7-year-old boy goes into a cinema, they don't think, "Oh, concentration camps."
Yeah,
generally.
I mean, I think the most violent thing in Chicken Run is only implied, and that's when they cut that chicken's head off.
Yeah, so like maybe there was stuff in the newspaper that was focusing on things like that, and that's why it gained that reputation. Anyone else? Did you hear that reputation about Chicken Run?
Pete still haven't seen Chicken Run, but I rewatched the Wallace and Gromit movie
That's
the
one
other day.
with Peter
Oh, we
Kay in.
should definitely cover Wallace and Gromit.
To this
Not
day.
just...
Sorry.
So,
Say that.
we should definitely cover the main 3 Wallace and Gromit things. I think they were the 90s, weren't they?
I think the movie was later. Oh, you mean the shorts? The shorts.
Yeah,
Like there was, Wrong Trousers.
I mean, we could do a special.
The moon one.
Yeah. There's a Grand Day Out, which is the one on the moon. A Close Shave, and then the Wrong Trousers. I think that's the order. I could be wrong. I thought the Wrong Trousers was the first one, just because it was the first one I saw.
Yeah. What was one of the evil penguin?
That was the Wrong Trousers. Pete says the first Wallace and Gromit short was 1989. Right. Yeah. So we might not be able... That was a Grand Day Out, wasn't it? So we might not be able to cover that one.
Okay, well, we can still cover some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awkward when there's those franchises that straddle the lines. I mean, we are going to do Deathly Hallows Part 2, but we might do it as part of Part 1.
Yeah, because Part 1 is the setup for Part 2. They are the same story.
Also, I think they filmed some Lord of the Rings style, where they filmed it all at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult splitting. I can understand why they split it into 2, not just the whole cynical they get to sell 2 tickets aspect, but also...
Although that was probably the main one.
Yeah, it was, but
Deathly Hallows is not even the longest book.
No, I believe that went to Half-Blood Prince, but... Yeah.
It's Order of the Phoenix, actually.
Is it? Really? Oh my god.
I think it is.
Okay,
Followed closely by Half-Blood Prince.
I'll take your word for that.
I seem to remember that.
But Pete's just mentioned something interesting. It's that Grand Day Out was 1989, Wrong Trousers 93, and Close Shave 95. That's how long it took to make these films at the time, because it was Aardman's stop animation. It wasn't like Chicken Run where they had the beginnings of CGI to begin to help with that.
Yeah.
Because I think although Chicken Run was mostly done manually, they did do some CGI to duplicate things and make the job a bit easier. So you could argue that Chicken Run was the last real cinematic stop-motion movie.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of stuff on Netflix that I'd love to cover one day.
Go on, Ollie.
Well, there's like Groundhog Day. That's a good one.
Yeah, me too.
Is Lost in Translation in our time period?
Oh yes, and that's one of my favourite movies of all time, so I will see to it that we do that early next year.
Yeah, well, so 2 of them with Bill Murray.
Yeah. Yeah, the pub landlord.
That's Al Murray.
Pete says it took 7 years to make A Grand Day Out.
Oh, bloody
and Mike
hell.
says he never picks up on any violence in the film. Yeah, me neither, I don't know why. Yeah. But parents were very prudish about movies in the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember there being...
Well, we didn't have anything more pressing to worry about at the time. No. These were innocent times.
Yeah, this was before 9/11 and all that. But
yeah.
I remember there being a lot of parents saying, being very pearl-clutchy about the first Harry Potter because Ron says bloody a lot.
Yeah.
That was a thing that was at schools. That's not a word you hear outside of a school. That is school parlance. Where does that originate from?
Yeah. That's also how long it took to make Avatar, the James Cameron movie, that is. I heard 12 years for Avatar. Bloody
hell, they're taking their time with the sequels, aren't they?
Well, it's been about that long.
Yeah.
Titanic is one we could do. I've never sat and watched that start to finish before.
Well, you know how it ends, don't you?
Yeah, well, I have a theory.
Yeah. Would it be amazing if that ship got sunk? Did you know how that got sunk?
How?
It was they actually figured out that it was somebody who was licking all the rivets and making them loose, and they all popped out. And that's where the phrase "loose lips sink ships" comes from. That's a joke. That didn't actually happen.
Mike says 90s and 2000s are becoming our good old days. They are.
Yeah, they might not be as perfect as we remember as children, but it's like when old people talk about war, like, they were fun times, we got to play with all our friends.
Well, over the last 10 years at the very least, everything is getting worse. So.
Yeah, you say that, but we have better access to technology than we've ever had. you know, it's what's the word? Not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, I suppose not. 2019 is becoming our good old day. Oh God, do you remember when we could go outside and go to the cinema?
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to properly go to a cinema again.
2019, 45 years ago.
Feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is getting a bit sad now.
I've not left the house in 8 months. I saw you the last time I did.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with that decision, did it?
No, it's shielding.
No, yeah, I'm just thinking, we were talking about pearl clutchy things from the early 2000s. Do you remember any of those that, people got outraged about but weren't really that outrageous?
Well, Pokemon cards encouraging violence.
Yeah, and I also had Pokemon cards encouraging gambling.
Yeah.
Particularly from teachers. I think they thought because it had the word poker in its name that it was like poker.
Pokemon.
Yeah, they called it Poker Man. I think they imagined a superhero who played poker all day. Teachers couldn't say words properly, could they? Because it was Poker Man.
Yeah, I had a teacher who said Pokemon.
Pokemon. The Pokemon. Alright,
Detective John Pokemon.
The Ace of Hearts. Wayne Rooney swearing on camera. I remember that was a deal at the time. Pete, can you say what word he said?
Oh, God.
Do you remember this, Ollie?
No, I don't, but for the days when that was a big deal.
I'm wondering what swear word he said, though, because I'm thinking it was shit. That's my guess. Ollie, do you have any sweepstakes?
Sorry, you cut out there. Could you repeat that?
Do you have any sweepstakes, Ollie, for what word that Wayne Rooney said? My money is on shit.
I'm going to say fuck.
Yeah. But the thing is, the S word, shit, would have offended people at the time.
Yeah.
But, another word that teachers said was spikeful instead of spiteful.
Yeah.
I
used to say it like that, but then I turned 7 and learned it wasn't the word.
That's
mean.
Yeah, I think that teachers genuinely didn't know what the word meant, because if I got inside a fight with someone, they'd say, "You're behaving very spitefully," and I wasn't doing anything out of spite, so I don't know where they were getting that from.
Yeah.
Not that I got in many fights, you know what I mean? And if I did, they generally wouldn't be my fault, but I would generally get blamed for it.
Fights didn't really happen at our school. I remember the word Minga.
Oh,
yes, Mike, I do.
Mike, I gotta admit something. I glanced at what you wrote and I misread.
No.
I'm not gonna say it, but I misread it in my head, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Uh-huh.
Oh, Mike, what are you on about? Why did you post that?
Without further ado. To be fair, I used to say it like that. I thought that was what it was.
Yeah. Like without saying goodbye, here's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Minga. Yeah, that word died a death. I've not heard anyone say that in like 15
Mike would
years.
never say that. Even Big Mickey wouldn't say that, says Pete.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
No, he doesn't get a pass. Sorry about that. He doesn't get a pass.
Yeah.
You know, that word pass.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I did have to double take. I glanced down, I was like, what on earth is he on about?
I think we're too used to being on our toes because of the people we know, unfortunately.
We are.
Well, I should say the people we have known.
Yeah, what was the drama to do with Pokemon at your... Well, I don't know if it was our school at the time, or... Because Pokemon was kind of before I turned up.
Well, I remember it.
Yeah.
I was about 5 when the craze first hit.
Yeah, that was like 1999, early 1999.
Oh, right, well in that case I was about 8. But,
yeah.
Like, I remember... I mean, I know how that particular teacher said Pokemon because she said, and I quote, "Did you hear that story of the boy who got robbed of his Pokemon cards?"
What do they think it is? I just imagine like a man with a cowboy hat and like
I'm
shades
sure they
on
knew what it was, just a
poker.
pronunciation thing.
Yeah, it's so weird.
There was no getting away from Pokemon and knowing what it
No.
was.
Although, having said that, I'm not going to say I'm proud of myself because it doesn't make a difference either way. But I didn't succumb to any peer pressure. I just generally wasn't that interested in it. It was all right. And I was kind of supportive of people's rights to have Pokemon cards.
I didn't have any of the cards. I had the Game Boy game, and the only cards I ever collected were Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah.
That's different, isn't it? You're actually playing the game that is played in the show.
I mean, you can play the Pokemon game, but the Yu-Gi-Oh game just felt like a more sophisticated, grown-up thing.
It's not just that, but, like, Pokemon cards are a facsimile of what happens in the show, whereas the Yu-Gi-Oh card game is what happens in the show.
Yeah, with MST negating and all that.
Sorry?
With MST negating and all that, and Pot of Greed being legal.
I don't think even in the show did MST ever negate anything.
No, I think that's just a misconception. Well, it was a wishful thinking on behalf of the people who thought that. Like,
you can see why they would think that, but that's not how it works.
I mean, it says destroy. It's not literal. You know, you don't literally tear up their card when you destroy a card. Well, unless you're like really pissed off. Pete says it's like how Lee. Don't name specific people. I don't know if I said it right. I don't care. Says Rayman in the PS1 version to Rayman 2. Rayman.
Rayman. Lee the Fairy is a character in.
Oh,
Rayman.
So I didn't accidentally dox someone. I didn't dox a fairy.
No. Well, you did, but they're not gonna have a problem with it.
Do you want to dox a fairy? Nostalgia. I like talking about nostalgia. It's do you remember the Phantom Menace coming out?
I do. Yes, I saw it like 6 times or something in the cinema.
I didn't because I was poor, but I did see it when it came out on video.
And then my dad brought me a pirated DVD of it from holiday.
I remember being excited.
It had weird subtitles I couldn't identify.
Well, as in they weren't English?
I don't know what they were. I can't remember.
How crap was the quality?
It was alright, actually. It was surprisingly okay.
I remember Sorry, carry on.
I didn't note that the picture was bad in any way, just that the subtitles were there.
Did you ever get those really crap ones where someone would get up halfway through the movie and you'd see like a big shadowy person walk across the screen?
Well, in the LimeWire days, I once downloaded Goblet of Fire, and that happened.
LimeWire was a time, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Give your computer, like...
STDs.
Give your computer a retrovirus for free music.
Just so you can download Linkin Park. Bloody hell. I remember us downloading a Michael Jackson song for this school talent show we did.
The last thing we did at that school.
Yeah, and also, it was the last thing we did before we found out that Michael Jackson had just died, because he died the day before the show when we were downloading this music.
That's a timestamp for you.
We were illegally downloading his music when he died.
And, LimeWire was retro even then. So.
Oh, Mike says, I remember when DVDs first came widespread. My first DVD I ever watched was The Nutty Professor 2. Oh, interesting. That was right. Wasn't it? And Pete says he had a Sith book when Revenge of the Sith came out. Carry on.
Oh, nice. My first DVD was Gladiator.
That was a popular one because it was widescreen and they made a big deal of it being widescreen and everyone had it. It was like the Avatar of its day. It was this one thing that was the epitome of good graphics at the time. Yeah,
and I remember being surprised at not having to rewind it.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I didn't like that because I liked the freedom to go back and forth as you pleased without skipping through a load.
Well, you still could, but...
Yeah, it was more limited, though. And you had skip scenes. That was annoying. Do you remember scene selections that had spoilers in? That was annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being that excited to see Russell Crowe's pudgy face on the wide screen.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a bit more in shape at the time, but still.
Yeah. Theatre. I remember it being good.
Yeah. Pete says, but we should watch that at some point. Pete says, I think one of my first DVDs was a Sooty DVD. And by that I think he means the puppet show. I don't think he means it was like covered in soot.
Yeah. I had a weird sort of relationship with DVDs, because if it was a serialized thing,
was
like
it the Siecle in the middle, Ollie?
Like a few episodes of The Simpsons, I'd want it on video.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the DVD, because it seems like DVD is for films, and like...
It was, Mike. Carry on.
Sorry?
Carry on, Ollie.
It seemed like DVD... Because, do you remember that Simpsons video, Bart Wars, The Simpsons Strike Back?
I had that, yes. I was disappointed that it didn't have like a Family Guy style Star Wars special, because that's what
so was I.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be when I bought it.
Yeah. Well, I had that on video, and years later, I went to my dad took us to stay at somebody's house, and they had it on DVD, and I thought that's weird.
You didn't know who?
Family friendly.
Oh, so it wasn't like
but,
some sort of
they had it
prank
on
day.
DVD, and I thought that's weird. Why would you put something like that on DVD? It was like, what can you get out of DVD that you couldn't get out of video for that particular thing?
More easily to scratch, aren't they? They're too easy to scratch. That's my thing I don't like about DVDs.
Yeah. With DVD box sets, you can forget where you are, and if you leave it for a while... Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas with videotapes, you can't forget them because they take up half your bloody room. And you can chuck them across the room and they won't be damaged. Not that I did that.
At the height of population in my house, there were 7 people living with us. Discs got lost.
Yeah.
Discs got lost. Videos never got lost, and when they did, you could find them and they'd still work.
Did you ever try the trick where you would use a toothbrush and toothpaste to clean the DVD?
I never did, no.
It kind
my
of
brother would
worked.
spit on them.
Not to clean them, he just didn't like the movies. Russell Crowe. Pete says with DVD box sets you can forget. Oh yeah, we've already read that comment. Oh dear.
It took us a while to get going. It's been about an hour now, but I think this has been good. We've had a nice chat once the comments started coming in.
Bit of nostalgia. Do you remember the Crazy Frog?
Yeah, doing these.
We should, even if it's just a nostalgia chat.
We should schedule a time every month so that we can get as many people in as we can.
Would you consider it worth your time if we did a highlight reel of this?
I would.
Cool. Yeah, okay, I'm up for that. I'm up for doing the editing. Brilliant.
Yeah, okay.
So, is this an actual ending point, Ollie?
Well, it's been an hour. I like to think that's a good,
good
conversation length for this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had fun.
And we've got
Crazy Frog was a fun one, says Mike.
You say it was fun, but he had his knob out. I mean, he had his little wrinkly penis out in the fresh air, and the parents really upset by that, and they had to cover it up later on, like it was censored.
Oh.
But imagine having to pay money for like 20 seconds of music to be your ringtone, as well as getting a video. That is so weird to me. That people would basically pay to have an internet meme sent to them, because that's what it was. It was a proto-internet meme.
I first was exposed to the sounds of the Crazy Frog by a Try Not to Laugh.
That sounds like the name of the album.
That went to a picture of a race car and played that sound, and it was actually really, really hard not to laugh at that.
No, I should do a video about the history of the Crazy Frog, actually, because it is fascinating. It was a thing in the late 90s, the sound of it was, and it only got animated in the mid-2000s. It's quite an earnest story, actually, because the guy who did the animation and made it famous didn't credit the person who made it because they genuinely didn't know who they were, but that person came forward, and instead of making it a big legal thing over who would control the Crazy Frog, he instantly gave that person credit without question.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's quite a wholesome story, actually. I might actually make that video, the surprisingly wholesome tale of the Crazy Frog.
Yeah, do it.
Thanks. Oh, I'm invigorated after today, I've got to say.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. We
Thank
will
you for
be back
joining
next
us.
month to answer more of your questions.
We will.
And stay tuned for this Sunday, where we will have a film discussion video of Clerks by Kevin Smith.
Every time someone says Kevin something beginning with S, I think, oh my god, where's this going? Oh, Smith, thank God. I saw Seven the other week, and Kevin Spacey is only slightly more... Yes, the Seven. Kevin Spacey is only slightly more villainous in that than he is in real life. Alright, see you next week.
See you next week.
See you at the end of the week.
No, see you next month.
No, it's November.
We'll see.
Ollie, what year do you think
we'll
this is?
see you live next month. But in terms of film discussions, we will see you on Sunday.
You are aware that it's 2020.
And in case we don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah, see you then. Bye.
Bye.
End of stream. End of stream.